Oh yeah, to talk about what the reports you've just seen, and then those Nigerians who have equally won re-election into their offices, because as a matter of fact, Nnamdi Chukwucha did win re-election, so making the third name, because ever since that report, things change so quick and fast these days, particularly for these elections. At the moment, we do have Isaac Olawale Albert, who is a professor of African history, peace and conflict studies. He's also the dean of faculty of multidisciplinary studies at the University of Ibadan. He joins us from our studios in Abuja. And then we also do have Ambassador Joseph Ayolog, who is a former permanent rep to the UN in Geneva, also former Nigeria's ambassador to Switzerland, who will be joining us via Zoom from London. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Let me start with you, Professor Albert. I mean, looking at this whole scenario, what impressions are you forming, especially as you see some of those developments play themselves out up until today?
Well, I think the first point that we have to make is that we are witnessing people's power at play. And what is unfolding is that electoral democracy has to do with the people. What do they want? How do they want to conduct themselves? And what are the expected outcomes? And for elections or electoral democracy to work, I think we need three important credibility factors. Personal credibility of the candidates, procedural credibility, having to do with how you conduct the election, and then your institutions. And we have several problems with this election, and I think the most important is to see the president of a country actually questioning the processes that are in place in his country on the production of leaders. What we are witnessing, to me, as a professor, is to say that students of electoral democracy should begin to question existing literature, extant literature on electoral democracy. Because the impression initially created is that America is the citadel of electoral democracy. But all the past problems that we witness in Africa and in the developing countries of the world are unfolding in America. Election violence, the use of unhealthy languages by the candidates, misuse of the social media. All these are unfolding in this election. This is the first time one will be witnessing a president actually challenging the process even before the results are declared. President Trump is asking for cancellation of, is asking for a recanting of the ballots in some states. Is asking that the counting of the ballots should even stop in some states, and is in fact preparing to go to court for results that have not been declared. So in other words, is questioning a process that might even make him a president, because he could win at the end of the day. So I don't want to actually say here that the end of it is with us. He could win, but he's questioning the entire process. So I think this is of deep interest to us.
Well, Ambassador Ayalogo, let me bring you in. Having seen all that is playing out, the perspectives that Prof just gave, could there be any diplomatic way of putting some of these things, or should other democracies take a look at it, perhaps back home in Africa, saying, well, okay, challenges, realistic challenges, meaning that, well, we can actually do a lot better than we are at the moment?
Yes, thank you. I agree with the Prof about the unusual developments, because for quite some time we always saw or tend to see America as the doyen of diplomacy and good process. But again, it's interesting that in spite of let me say, the gimmicks of the president in almost trying to underturn an established process. The process has not, the system hasn't allowed him to do that. This could be quite different from what we have in certain climes, let me say in Africa, for instance, where perhaps being an incumbent will sway the electoral office and the electoral system, but that hasn't been so. In spite of what he says, the process, the system continues. So that is something that we could actually learn. An independent electoral body and a well-oiled and well-grained system on ground is the way to go. In fact, that's what we can pick up as a country and as from other clients. I mean, as a country and from the continent. That's what we must pick up from this, because, well, even if Trump wins, at least it will be clear that he won. It's not. It will give integrity to the process, to his win and all that. It wouldn't be nice to hear that he rigged the election, because it's possible that he probably has that in mind. He definitely has the intention from all his doings recently to influence the election, but I think he cannot, because the system still rolls on. Even the talk he will go to court, he will go to Supreme Court. That's also not the process in the U.S. He has to go through the state courts before he gets to the Supreme Court. It may take a longer haul, but he has to follow the process, and we must, as I say, without too much of emphasis, pick that up. Well, we who are watching from outside will just watch and identify what are the good things we can pick up, and also as you are picking up good things, good concept. We have to make sure to what we must avoid. We will definitely avoid what is going on now. This is a country with impressive credentials in democracy and the practice of electioneering and voting. And then the leader wants to fiddle with it. But like I said, he doesn't seem to be getting his way. Yeah.
Those of us watching from outside, I mean, all eyes are on that election. A lot of people stayed up all night just to catch a glimpse of what's happening, because if you miss it, a minute, 2 minutes, things might change. And this is for Prof, quickly. There are two outcomes, pretty much. I mean, other candidates are not doing as well, so we're left with two major candidates, the incumbent and the Democratic candidate. And with these two options, one wonders, what might they mean, these outcomes? What might that mean for the world at large? We'll come to Nigeria in a moment, but these two outcomes, what might that mean? Because all countries are watching, thinking, how will this swing? And you see some of them making moves, clandestine, just to maybe align. Now, this is for Professor Albert. So what might this mean, those two options? What might they mean for the world?
Well, as His Excellency said, America is not a country that we can ignore. We want to rate it as the biggest democracy in the world, and whosoever emerges as the president of America, of course, would influence the politics of the rest of the world. We had past presidents who contributed significantly to the development of Africa, for example. And we have tried our hands on President Obama. We have witnessed that of Trump. And we do know that the person who eventually emerges as the president has one or two things to contribute to global politics and to the politics of our country. So, but if we go by the books, we will say here in Nigeria that we want Joe Biden to win, because Democrats have, very friendly policies towards developing nations, Africa, Nigeria, and that Trump, Republican parties, are capitalist in orientation. But personally, I don't want to be deceived by that type of academic argument. President Obama, came in under the, was a Democrat. But the question we need to ask ourselves is, yes, we fasted, we prayed when he was coming to office. What did Africa or Nigeria benefit from Obama? Then we also want to ask ourselves, when Trump came in, to me, he presented himself as a better person than Obama in terms of his African policies. We thought, for example, that Trump was going to help us to deal with the security problems in Nigeria. What did we benefit from Trump? So to me, I am not too worried about who emerges at the end of the day. What I would rather want to see or analyze on this platform is the kind of changes that might emerge. President Trump came in, with the mantra of, a better America. But when you look at his policies, he seemed to have antagonized too many members of the international community to the extent that China is getting stronger. More and more countries are drifting in the direction of China. Should Obama get a second term, I think this greater America we are talking about will emerge as a mirage, in the sense that more countries will drift in the direction of China, and China might emerge as the largest economy in the world. And, if you look at security management also, we here in Nigeria are more concerned about our present situation here in Nigeria. People talk about Tucano. We want Tucano to be able to fight, the insurgents in the northeast, to be able to fight in the northwest. And we are told you cannot get Tucano until 2021, 2022. To me, what I can make of that is a government that is not really ready to help Nigeria out of the mess in which we find ourselves. If Tucano is a game changer in the counterinsurgency, and America is willing to help us, America can actually talk to friendly countries to actually provide us these war machines. So, Trump, to me, has not significantly helped Nigeria. As Trump helped Africa, yes, it succeeded in brokering, promoting a deal between Ethiopia
when
and
you
Egypt.
say, just a minute, Prof, when you say that he hasn't really helped Nigeria regarding the Tucano, is it about him? Because, even before him, they had talked about the Leahy Law. So what should they have done about it? Should they have jettisoned citing the Leahy Law?
Well, you have some cosmetic, scientific concepts and what one would call political rhetoric. If Nigeria is one of the best friends of America, America would not be citing some of these laws we are talking about, because we have a problem to solve here. And to me, I think we should drift away from this idea of international concepts that actually take us away from actually solving our problems in very, very sound manner. And to me, we should stop thinking of what America will do for us. We should stop thinking of what the developed world should do for us. We should start thinking about what we can do for ourselves. And that is why, to me, the Order 5, the Executive Order 5 of President Buhari on February 5, 2018, is of interest to me. What is it that we can do for ourselves as a nation beyond what America could do for us? Because everybody is waiting for America to produce a president that will help us. This is not going to happen. So we have to begin to think in the, reflect in the direction of what we could do for ourselves. And this is why I personally will commend TEDFON in Nigeria that is putting in place some mechanisms for actually getting Nigerians to begin to produce what we will consume. And that, we're also moving in the direction of also encouraging Nigerians to consume what we produce. Let Americans decide who should be their president, but we should decide on how we want to manage our nation.
Interestingly, Prof, you mentioned both Democrats and Republicans, and you sound as though you're saying, well, really,
yes,
it doesn't matter much. But regarding those A-29 Super Tucano, we understand that they're in production. In fact, there was a test flight conducted recently. So these things, take some process. And in fact, for the NAF, they might be getting it pretty soon. But let's go back to Ambassador, because Professor actually mentioned the fact that both candidates have their dispositions. They have what they're planning to do for America, for the incumbent, Make America Great Again. For the Democratic, candidates, he has his own mantra for America. But we can't take away the fact that will affect relationship with Nigeria in particular. I mean, we try to talk broad. But still staying on Nigeria, you may have seen that video of a rally that was done for President Trump, which the president also tweeted saying he was honored by that, meaning that there is always that some sort of relationship. So what do you see, these two outcomes? What do you see them, meaning for Nigeria?
Well, yes, I actually agree with the Prof to a point, especially the fact that whoever takes over in America will not structurally change things for Nigeria or for Africa. Well, there would be some cosmetic things. Some of them would have in the past made some noise. Well, noise, good noises, but they've not done much. At the end of the day, we have to, like their own president, one of the former presidents said, think of what you can do for your country. Well, in this case, Nigeria. But that having been said, I must emphasize that because of the nature of the differences in the nature and the style of the two persons involved, the world has been worried and a lot more concerned. This is actually a very important election. We can see Trump, who right from the start said he was going to make the America great again, whatever that means. But we saw him exhibiting that, keeping migrants away, building a wall, and so on. But particularly the one that worries me more, and because it could also affect Africa, is his attempt, maybe deliberate, I would say, to undermine the multilateral system on 3 occasions, whether in environment, and of course, coming to our own climb, his attempt to undermine our getting the Director Generalship of both the African Development Bank and on the floor now, the WTO. So you see him putting his foot wrongly in as regards multilateral diplomacy, and the global community relies on multilateral diplomacy and platforms and structures that have been set up to achieve world peace. And we do not want, it's not good that there's any attempt to frustrate it because the leader of a country wants to dominate. And because that trend of domination, reckless domination, will exacerbate relations with other countries. And then it's even dangerous. You can have big disagreements, oppositions, either U.S., China, U.S., Arab, whatever. And that affects us in Africa. And we can see that happening. Perhaps he wants to get America back to the period of, unipolar dominance, which we know have also did create problems. Biden has also said, well, that he will do things slightly differently. They may even achieve the same process, but I do not think he will go headlong like that. As Trump has gone. That is the major change in their style. Besides that, I think America will still be America for now. The Tiger doesn't change the sport. They have their values. They want to be great. They've been great before, even though we also know that there is there's a clear trajectory of greatness by nations, the rise and fall. For Nigeria, I said before, I was amused, right, when I saw people going out in the streets and chanting for Trump. And of course, Trump, typically say that was he was excited, and that panders to his personal ego. From the way I see it, I wouldn't have done that. But then anyway, that is it. The outcome will mean various things for various countries. For instance, the people in the UK here, they are all watching with keen attention. They know that Trump has his attitude about Brexit, one of the issues that is close to the heart of the government. And Biden, of course, has said that, well, yes, Brexit, but you cannot ignore the Good Friday agreement, and so on. So there are things he wouldn't let the British government get away with so easily. I'm sure that in China they're also going to look at watching carefully to know whether there's how the U.S. plays out, depending on who wins. We're in Nigeria. I just remember just a couple of days ago, the American Navy SEAL, they went and pulled out somebody, rescued a hostage. Fine, great. Well, judging by that, we have so many hostages to be pulled out. Will they have they offered enough? Have they offered any solution to us? This is why at times we say that, yeah, well, we expect Trump could have done better.
Your Excellency, we'll be back in just a moment, so we could just get your concluding thoughts. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. Ambassador, let me take this up with you. I'm more interested in the systems, because it's the system that has produced the presidents in the United States of America for so long, so, confidently and all. So I'm just wondering, one of the things that I have observed is that, okay, I think we don't have him for now, but let me take the same question with Prof in Abuja. One of the things that I have observed, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to learn, this as a lesson as well, is that there isn't a particular central electoral body in the United States of America. It's dissipated down through some thousands, about 10,000, organizers, and in the 50 states or thereabout of the country. And we still have a system that the election seems to run flawlessly. In fact, the date of the election is a law. Is there any hope that we can get there anytime soon? Especially since we are practicing the presidential system of government according to the U.S., the template of the U.S.
Well, I think that is one of the lessons that Africa and Nigeria could take from what is unfolding. What you have just said feeds into the discourse of institutional credibility. America, irrespective whatever we are witnessing, has strong institutions that you cannot tamper with. And the institutions also have procedures that you cannot tamper with. And I think that is what the ambassador was trying to say. That yes, you might have problems of personal credibility. The candidates might have some behavioral patterns that are not healthy for the situation. But those unhealthy human behaviors cannot affect negatively the institutional credibility of America. It cannot negatively affect the procedural credibility of America. And therefore, the lesson for us in Nigeria is for us to build strong institutions. If you build strong institutions, it's difficult for individuals to create problems for your country. So the problem we are having in Nigeria today is that our institutions are not strong. Now, because the institutions are not strong, we have problems with our procedural credibility. The procedures are tampered with by individuals. So that is one lesson that I think we should take from what is unfolding in Nigeria. And I still want to connect that with what we are doing here in Nigeria now. Following the Executive Order 5 of 2018, the federal government of Nigeria, through TEDFund, has established 12 research and development committees that will address this issue of institutional credibility, procedural credibility, so that at the end of the day, we begin to consume what we produce and we begin to produce what we consume.
Well, let me take this same issue up with His Excellency Ambassador Ayalogo. So he has talked about, and I'm almost certain that you will agree with him again, that we need to build institutions, which has always been the issue. It's not the first time we're talking about building institutions. What are the things, what are the building blocks, the pillars we need to establish, to make sure that we build institutions that will outlast people? Because we all know how long the United States electoral process has been on, and the system seems stable, flawless generally, and all of that. What is it that we need to do to strengthen whatever the pillars we need to build to make sure that we get to that point where we have institutional credibility, as Prof has mentioned? Well, Your Excellency, if you could kindly unmute the microphone, we'll probably be able to hear you better.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you please go ahead, sir.
That most of the time, a lot of us say we need institutions, which is true, but the Nigerian system pays only lip service to this very important need. Now, we say we are running the American system. We're not running the American system. We have never studied the American system and made an effort to implement it. So the result is that our system is rife with impunity, no consequence, all the things that undermine institutions. If it's not part of your value system, that everybody goes around doing whatever you want, politicians paying for votes, people snatching votes. How do you build institutions? So I would say that if we want to build institutions, and we need to build institutions, let us genuinely start doing that. If we don't even understand that, let us study how the other countries that we say we are mimicking or drawing from, how they do it. So that's first of all. We have you say you have an electoral board, and so fine, and then even maybe the law says that they have to be independent, but you still have the person who is chairing it to be the president decides on the person, and so on. How does he get in? How does he operate independently? So this is just what I want to say. We need strong institutions. We are not pushing to have strong institutions. We are just going on business as usual, because there are they are our individual beneficiaries.
All right, Your
So
Excellency,
until
let me just bring this in as we wind down, and this is for both of you, but we'll start with you, Your Excellency. Well, if you look at those Nigerians who first contested elections there and then the ones who won, our system here, I mean, not many are sure that the system will even throw them up, let alone they winning elections, as it were. But back home here, we also do know that the chairman of the commission, INEC, was at the assembly yesterday trying to defend his budget, and he was proposing mail-in voting system, amending the Electoral Act for electronic voting to be made available. What would you want to see us adapt to make our elections better moving forward?
yeah, it would have been nice to do it exactly the way the U.S., Europe, electronic system, mailing system, but so far our logistics may undermine even our achieving it. We don't have people, out here. You say you are living in number XX2XY, and that's where you live. Yeah, there's the system of data collection is very high up. We still haven't got it. We're not trying to do that yet. Even to get our national ID cards, identity numbers, is still a problem. So these are the things that would undermine the new system of using IT, information technology, to do elections. In fact, if we were to do it, then that would be better, because it will short circuit or quite a lot of the challenges that we face in Nigeria in trying to do elections. Snatch ballots, people who could vote, but because they haven't seen their registration cards, or they don't want to go fight in the polling booths, or they are not around, therefore they are disenfranchised. So I would agree that we should try to use the modern technologies in election, but we have to start from the scratch and be serious about it.
Okay, Prof, could you just respond to the same thing? If you could make it short, we'll appreciate that. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I think what is lacking here is the political will to get it right. It is not rocket science for us to conduct our elections as it's done in the U.S. But the question is, are we ready for it? Do we have the institutional credibility in terms of having an independent INEC that would put in place systems that will work? Do we have the infrastructure? Following COVID, some of us have started, carrying out a number of academic activities online, and we have realized that you cannot use the systems that we have now. You cannot use MTN, Glo, and the rest for doing e-learning. So the question is, how many universities have been provided with the facilities for e-learning? So if INEC is saying we're going in the direction of e-voting, what structures do we have in place? Do we have the facilities? If we have the facilities in cities, do we have the facilities in rural areas?
When you say you need an independent INEC, and many say, wait a minute, it's called Independent National Electoral Commission, but we'll get the point anyway. Professor Isaac Olawale Albert is of African History, Peace, and Conflict Studies. He's also Dean, Faculty of Multidisciplinary Studies at the University of Ibadan. We've also had His Excellency Joseph Ayalogo, former permanent rep to the UN in Geneva, and also former Nigeria's High Commissioner to Switzerland. Thank you, gentlemen, for talking to us today.
Thank you.